Cade Foster from First Wave Thursday at 8:05. You want to get out more? Try taking in a ball game, for goodness sake. That's what we're going to do right now.
This is ridiculous.
Do you believe this? Hold the phone, fasten your seatbelts. Wow. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness, what a play! And this crowd is bedlam. It's pandemonium. Holy cow. This place is bananas.
And neither are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have finally come good. After years of ridicule and abuse, Tony Dungy has moulded a team to take on the best. Warren Sapp leads their defence, which is the best in the NFC. And local hero Sean King is a young rookie quarterback at the helm of their offence. This team is brimming with the confidence and ready to go to the big one. Tonight they take on this year's surprise package. Kurt Warner and the St. Louis Rams have set the league alight. They were the only team to average over 400 yards of offence per game. Warner became only the second quarterback in history to throw 40 or more touchdowns in a season. Running back Marshall Faulk set a new NFL record for total yardage from scrimmage. This is the ultimate showdown, the NFL's #1 offence against the NFC's #1 defence. And the winner goes to Super Bowl 34. It's the Bucs at the Rams, Tampa Bay in St. Louis, and the entire game is here on 5. Yes, indeed, you will not miss a play. We have an absolute stormer coming up for you now. It's a classic matchup as well. That's myself and Mike Coulson, of course. I'm not referring to the game. No, of course, it's exactly what I'm referring to.
The most offensive guy in television?
That's right, exactly,
and
that's
the most
right.
defensive.
That covers it nicely, doesn't it, in fact? But that is the beauty of this particular game, is it? You know, it is the old unstoppable force, immovable object coming against each other.
You called it, and one of the great cliches of pro football is that good defenses are what win championships. And Tampa's defense, which I think is probably the best in football, is going to be put to a severe test today by St. Louis's offense, which just goes out week after week and beats teams, you know, almost any way you want, running, passing, or doing both. The difference in the game may be that St. Louis's defense looks to be a lot better than Tampa's offense.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to generate a whole lot of points in any game, but Tampa's strategy will probably be to just keep the game close, as we've seen a couple of times when we've had them on games. Keep it close and then let Sean King win it in the fourth quarter, which he seems very adept at doing. If I were them, I'd let Sean King go early, try to build his confidence, get a few points on the board, and not fall behind, because St. Louis, the 3 games they lost were all close games. Every game they won was a runaway. And so basically their defense hasn't been in that many tests when the game has been close.
As you say, and this is obviously the ultimate test, or the one just before it, in fact. We've got to get over this one first, exactly. Get over this one first. Mind you, they do know who the opposition's going to be, because we had ourselves the AFC result from earlier on today, didn't we?
That's right. And in a minor surprise, Tennessee beat Jacksonville for the 3rd time this season, 33-14. In a game that was much closer than that score would indicate. In fact, Jacksonville led 14-10 at the half, and they basically shut Tennessee's offense down for the most part, but Jacksonville, in effect, handed Tennessee this game. Tennessee's defense as well, putting pressure on Jacksonville. That made its mark. We'll talk about that after we've seen the highlights.
Yes, indeed. That's going to happen for you at half-time. We'll have highlights and reactions from the players and the coaching staff as well. That'll be around half-time, and of course in this game, as I say, which is going to be the whole of the game to decide the NFC Championship. And it is a particularly interesting one. Again, I said at the top there, surprise package. St. Louis, we haven't had a chance to look at this season, which I'm particularly looking forward to as well.
It's about time we saw them.
Exactly, but I think they've caught everybody on the hop, haven't they? You know, they weren't your highlight, they weren't a poster team, were they, until they started coming to this year?
And in fact, up until this season, they were the worst team of the decade in the NFL, and by having a winning season this year, they handed that honor or dishonor to Cincinnati, which makes more sense. But Dick Vermeil came in with a 3-year plan there, and basically I was one of many people who didn't take him seriously, but he got rid of players he didn't like. He brought in players who who played the way he wanted to play. He brought in coaches. He made coaching changes. A key one, Mike Martz, the offensive coordinator, coming in this year. And then when he lost his starting quarterback, Trent Green, Kurt Warner stepped up, and played brilliantly all season long. So full credit to a guy that I wasn't giving any credit to, and I confess, at the beginning of the season.
That's right. He's done the job. He was a man who had a plan. And to find out just exactly how that plan was put together, we can now hear from head coach Dick Vermeil as well, who's chatting with Pam Oliver.
History will write under Dick Vermeil, the losingest organization in football made an unprecedented turnaround. History may also note Vermeil, once the poster child for burnouts and extremes, used life's lessons to get this one right.
Deep down inside, it's something I had to do again because I was not proud of myself in walking away an emotional wreck.
You're still, in a lot of ways, the same person, aren't you? The same intense and emotional man you were all those years ago?
Well, I'm not as intense, and I see things more clearly now. I used to be blind to a lot of things. My players tell me things about how I was and what I did.
Rams assistant Wilbert Montgomery played for Vermeil's Eagles back then.
Okay, Grandpa, what was it like in the old days when you walked 5 miles to school?
It was the 5 hours breakfast. It's the 4 hours breakfast. I mean, couldn't take the helmet off, couldn't unbuckle the chin strap for water break. I mean, he was just a tough guy.
I don't even remember being that way. I don't recognize myself that way. I think I'm more observing today, yet I'm still very intense.
Very emotional guy, very emotional guy.
He's one of the biggest criers I've ever seen. It's at any time. You can just keep sitting down talking to him, and he'll get choked up about something.
He attached his emotion to every little thing around here. The picture might be hanging wrong on the wall. He might go, tears about that.
I got a note from my granddaughter the other day, not my granddaughter, my daughter-in-law, and I couldn't help it. I got tears in my eyes. I get tears in my eyes talking about it. That's me.
Before the start of this year's season, Vermeil collected himself long enough to adjust in the face of a near mutiny by worn-out and frustrated players.
We had double days for like 3 hours of practice apiece. So it's rough. I mean, to be hitting so much and, seeing the same guys, there are a lot of fights breaking out.
I knew what I was doing, and so did my coaches. And this last year, I did some things differently because I felt it was time.
At 63, however, time may be running out. Vermeil is contractually obligated to steer the Rams through the 2001 season. This week, Vermeil anointed offensive coordinator Mike Martz his successor, presumably set to take over under that timetable. But
if the Rams finish this thing off the way you expect to, have you entertained the idea of sort of riding off into the sunset? I mean, that's a nice cap to one's career.
My wife said something about that the other night after our game. She says, what do you have left to prove? I don't know. I can still lead, and I can still discipline, and I can still evaluate, and I can still critique and still be successful. So I will finish my career when I decide to get out with a much better feeling about Dick Vermeil.
Which is himself. Dick Vermeil, there you go. Talking about himself in the third person. He did it with the Eagles back in 1980. 1980, he got himself a Super Bowl and said back then, because he gave himself a rest, said burnout.
He was burned out at the time, and that Eagles team had, I think it was 18 or 19 guys who were undrafted. Guys,
wow.
Who were wanted to play. That's why they were there. And it was all that college rah-rah stuff.
Yeah.
And basically he went to doing TV commentary on college games. And they said, you couldn't keep that up with pros. In the first 2 years in St. Louis, that's what a lot of us thought, was that you couldn't keep pros at that high emotional level every week. And the players were getting burned out in St. Louis. And this year he's more relaxed. The practices have been easier. They haven't burned out as the season progressed. And having Mike Martz as the offensive coordinator, they've made this promise to him basically to keep him there because other teams were interested in grabbing him away as a head coach. But, it's hard to say anything bad about him this year. That team is just, when you're winning, it's easy, for people to stay happy. But you have to keep them all on the same page to begin with.
Well, he looks and sounds like a man on a mission, but of course, Tampa Bay are in the way. I mean, do you think this is a good team to provide a stumbling block?
This is the best test they could have, basically, because remember, they lost to Tennessee during the regular season. Tennessee with a quick defense, and Tampa's defense has the kind of speed you need in the Dome at St. Louis to cope with the team speed that the Rams have. If anyone can stop them, Tampa Bay can, but you have to think it's a long shot. You know, I just hope in 2 or 3 years when you're 63 that you look as good as Dick Vermeil
That's
does.
right, yeah. Although, of course, I'm never going to go quite that white.
I don't know. You're
Oh,
halfway
it's
there.
all over. It's all over anyway, yes, indeed.
This
But
is color TV.
I'd have reached burnout by then anyway. I have no fear about that. Now, listen, we want you to get in touch. Tennessee Titans have made it. Got any thoughts about that? Share them with us. Share them with Mike. He'll have a chat with you about it. 020-7430-4099. 020-7430-4099. That is our fax line. You can start faxing now and give us your thoughts on that as well. And obviously, on this particular game as well, if you want to chat about that, feel free to do so.
Don't fax us the result of tonight's game either.
We have no interest in that at all because we're going to see the whole of that game coming for you now. You will not miss a play, but you'll miss us the next couple of minutes. We'll be back soon.
Jatinda Bulsara of the Halifax helped sort out Jane Sims's repayment mortgage, which helped her buy the home of her dreams with a whopping great garden, which helped Humphrey stretch his legs, which didn't help Tiddles from next door, or Eric, the council cleansing department operative, or Peanut and his pride and joy. But it did help the blokes at the scrapyard, eventually, who rather too often helped Mario of Mario's Caff, whose culinary expertise helped rustle up the full English for Big Colin the cabbie, who helped take one of the more eccentric guests to the housewarming party at Jane Sims's place, which she bought with a little help from the Halifax.
Yeah, take it easy.
It surprised them, so it might surprise you. But in the last 3 years, the Royal Navy helped seize illegal drugs with a street value of over £120 million. Royal Navy, the team works. 0345 300 123.
Have your sore throat kiss better with Hall Soothers.
Yes, indeed. Tennessee are there. They've made it. They are the AFC champions. They're going to Super Bowl next weekend. But who is going to be the team to lift the NFC trophy? Well, you'll be able to see in just a couple of hours or so time because we have our game for you now. The whole of the game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are travelling to St. Louis to see if they can take their team on, the team that have done the best job so far in the regular season. But now they've got to carry it all through. Let's see how it all goes, and we can go over to our commentary team. It's the pair of legends for you, John Madden and Pat Summerall. And here's Pat introducing us to the starting offense line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
At wide receiver, number 81, Jaquez Green. At left offensive tackle, number 69, Pete Pearson. At left offensive guard, number 64, George Diaz. At center, number 61, Tony Mayberry. At right offensive guard, number 73, Frank Middleton. At right offensive tackle, number 71, Jerry Wundt. At tight end, number 83, Dave Moore. At wide receiver, number 87, Bert Emanuel. At quarterback, number 10, Sean King. At fullback, number 40, Mike Allstott. At running back, number 28, Warwick Dunn.
Well, we were saying at the start that these two teams are nicely matched because of the way their offenses and defenses work, but you'd have to say, Mike, that Tampa Bay are probably the happier of the two teams.
That's
there.
exactly the start they needed. They got the turnover early. I mean, it couldn't be any earlier on the first play of the game. And it's a good turnover to get, too, because you want to try to stop St. Louis from getting the ball to Marshall Faulk as much as you can. And if they're going to give the ball to Faulk, you want him to run it rather than to get it out of the backfield, because that's where he'll really kill you. And you notice the Rams shift all the time. Tampa shift 3 points out of that, which was the bad news, because they really could have used the touchdown. And then St. Louis came back and only got 3 points out of a drive that really should have been a touchdown drive. And you can see why they're so hard to defense, because they've got so many options.
Yeah.
But what you've noticed is Tampa have got them going almost exclusively to the wide receivers. And that's a good sign from Tampa's point of view, because it at least puts them where they want them to be. And when Tampa can play with 5 defensive backs and 2 linebackers, they're incredibly tough to throw on. And even when they completed the pass to Roland Williams for the big gain, you notice that the linebacker who was beaten, it just went over his fingertips, because they're so quick in getting back, even when they're fooled on the play-action fake. So basically, that's a great first quarter of football.
And so, like, in terms of the game plan, it's Tony Dungy's obviously going to be the man who thinks, well, got that bit right so far.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to say that he's happy, you know, that's what he wants, because he'd like to be in the lead 7-3 right now. But at 3-3, you know, he's happy. His offense is moving the ball a little bit. His defense is playing okay. And the longer they stay in like this, the more the odds are in their favor that they can come up with another turnover, or that Sean King can make one big play, or Warwick Dunn can make one big play. Because you see the difference between Allstott and Dunn on this fast surface. And St. Louis's defense is not slow by any means, but Dunn is the one who can get to the line of scrimmage quickly and get through it. And Allstott's having a little more problems. You know, they're sort of giving it away when they run Allstott.
Absolutely. We said before the start of the game that we wanted to hear from you by fax, and we'll be chatting to Colin Ogilvie. You're a very, very sick man. We'll be talking about your facts at half-time. You wait.
Send in a request.
You lucky devils. But we should also say hello and good evening to one of our biggest fans.
Ah, yes.
That's right.
Or maybe our biggest.
Good evening, yes. Good evening, I'm Mike. Mr. Tyson will be watching this evening. He can't take his eyes off of the sport coverage here on Channel 5.
Well, apparently not. He was late for a press conference Thursday because he was watching the hockey coverage. So presumably he's watching the football tonight, because I know you like football.
He was watching last Sunday, exactly. So
yeah. Way to go.
Good evening. Hope you lose. No, in the night. I mean that in the nicest possible way. Oh, I know you don't.
Get
obviously.
back on Earth, man.
But I had a job to do here, Mike. Just to let you know, Colorado Avalanche will play the LA Kings tomorrow night. That will be our game of the week in the hockey. That starts at 1:45, Mike, and everyone else out there, you can watch as well.
Remember, you're in training for a fight.
That's right. Yeah. Sit up as late as you like, Mike. Give Julius a chance. That's what I'm saying. Okie dokie, we had a nice tight first quarter there. Second one coming up in a couple of minutes' time.
Call Word Up now and talk about all those things you just love to do. 09066 14 14 14. That's 09066 14 14 14.
Talk to exciting new people in the phone bar now. Call 09069 121 131 and join up to 210 callers online now. That's 09069 121 131.